You are listening to episode 25 of Burgers and Fries with a Shake podcast. I'm Desert Coyote 22, and of course, with me, as always, is TTBurger 88. Say hello, Tony.
Hello everyone, Tony here, and I hope you're all ready because we have a special episode of Burgers and Fries with a Shake podcast here. This will be uploaded on both my channel and Desert Coyote 22's channels here, because this is a big, important podcast I feel like we need to talk about here, requested by Anthony himself here. So, Anthony, this is your idea. Tell the audience what the topic is about.
So, before we get into the meat of this matter, I need to express how ironic that we're talking about this, because it was you, Tony, who actually suggested, hey, do you want to do the anniversary of Elliot Rodgers? And I was just like, no. So, it's quite ironic that we're also talking about the Robb Elementary School shooting, the tragedy in Texas. And unfortunately, there's a lot of these shootings that seem to be going on all the time. So why are we deciding to give our thoughts about this one? I think it's very simple reason. Because a coward shot up kids. That's why. And teachers. Exactly. It's one thing to go to a public place, but to exclusively kill 19 children like a fucking coward that this person is, and the two teachers, and even shooting up his grandmother, apparently. This is just, it was just tough to hear about when we first heard about it. And of course, one of the things that always happens whenever a tragedy like this happens is everybody starts talking about, well, somebody needs to do something about this. What's the solution that we should do about this? You agree, Tony?
Oh yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, because there's been too many of them going on this year and stuff, and especially this one is one of the worst because they were just innocent kids that were killed.
Yeah, their ages were 9, 10, the oldest one was 11, and then you of course had our two teachers. But what was even worse is that this was one classroom. This guy just barricaded himself into one classroom and just opened fire on all of them. And I cannot imagine the feelings of fear and uncertainty that raged through their minds as this asswipe coward opened fire on them.
I mean, why take it out on these kids? What do these kids ever do to this 18-year-old or so like that? The answer is absolutely nothing.
You're right. There really isn't anything. So now the information that we're saying about the shooter is based off what we know a couple days after. Obviously, when stuff like this, information will unfold later on. But what we know so far about the shooter, who is named Salvador Ramos, is that he was an 18-year-old high school dropout. He was supposed to graduate this year, but I guess because he just wasn't doing that great at school or wasn't attending enough, they said he wasn't going to graduate. He didn't have any prior criminal history, but allegedly he was bullied due to stutter and lisp, which, okay, I can understand that. They say he frequently got in fights at school. They say he worked at a Wendy's for about a year, and he wasn't even the nicest person to his coworkers. He would go out of his way to just keep to himself instead of, engage in friendly conversations with them. And they also said he sent inappropriate text messages to his female coworkers. So this wasn't exactly a good dude to begin with. You agree?
I agree, because a good person would not be acting like that, especially at his job.
No, and in my field where I work, that stuff would get me fired instantly. I mean, they are very zero tolerant about any kind of unprofessional behavior toward your coworkers. So yeah, even though there's some nice female coworkers, don't ask them out because you could get in trouble for that.
Right.
So in fact, maybe this guy thought, I can engage in this type of behavior, but that's just part of the story. There's always this debate over the gun control. There's always this stuff about how people get the firearms, and they always think that it's just too easy to get firearms, or he didn't legally purchase the firearms. Now, he came to the place with a rifle and a handgun. He actually legally purchased the rifles that he had. Now, in terms of the legality of the handgun, it's very disputable whether or not that was legal or not. I do not think you can legally purchase a handgun until you're 21. Tony, do you know anything about that?
I don't know anything about it, because I never even fired a gun before in my life, so I don't know nothing about, but It's just that because I just don't know any 18-year-old who has a firearm license or so like that. Usually you have to be like in your 20s like that, but I never heard of a teenager doing that stuff. I mean, I know like there are teenagers who go hunting or something like that, so, but like with an actual pistol stuff, I can't really see an 18-year-old being legally owned a firearm or so.
Now, if he was legally able to purchase a rifle, possibly it was due to the way Texas laws are, but rifles are obviously a lot different than using a handgun. And it's very possible that you can legally purchase a rifle when you're 18 because of hunting purposes, but not really a handgun until you're 21. So the thing is, this guy is 18 and he has a handgun with him that he brought to the massacre. Well, wait a minute, I thought he's not supposed to have a handgun. And that's, of course, where we keep getting into all of these debates. So on the day, he shot his grandmother and basically took her truck. And then they're always going to say, well, there wasn't any warnings. Well, I guess he posted 3 messages on social media saying he was going to shoot his grandmother, that he shot him, and then one that he'll open fire in school. But it was basically to just one user in like a private message. And
why shoot his grandma, though? What did his grandma do to him? Why would he kill his grandma? Just
allegedly due to... like maybe the grandmother was like, I can't believe you didn't graduate high school. How dare you? How are you acting this way? And maybe he already had this much angst in him that he instantly decided that he was going to be a lunatic and do it. As far as I know, as of right now, I think the grandmother is still alive, despite being shot. But that information can change in an instant. So who knows what really is going to happen at this point.
Right.
But takes the truck, purposely crashes the truck through a barricade into a concrete ditch outside the school, and basically enters the school. So people had said that, he was engaging with officers. People have said, nope, that's not true anymore. There were no officers on duty at the school. Now, when I mean officer, I mean like basically school security officers or whatever. And I don't necessarily know if any school security officers or school police officers are armed. I don't know. Please, if anybody's listening to me, correct me on that if they are or are not.
Correct me also. If we're both wrong, correct us.
You just got to think about just how easy it was for him to just get in. And unfortunately, all of the victims he had were basically in this one classroom. Tony, do you know how long this guy was inside that classroom?
No, I don't. I don't know how long he was in there for. I'm taking it was for quite a bit to see that he shot pretty much a whole classroom or so like that. So
an hour. He was in there for an hour.
Fuck. An hour?
Yes. An hour. I don't care how long you're in there, even if you have 5 minutes alone to yourself before responding. That is way too long.
What was he doing? What was he doing in there for like an hour? Stopping at a vending machine to get a snack before he started this whole thing?
I mean, yeah, it's a very morbid joke to say, but exactly. He had enough time to have his lunch break inside there. And I also heard that it took a while for police response to even go inside the school before they eventually engaged with him and then shot the asshole dead. But still, he was in there for an hour. That's terrible.
I'd never heard of something that lasts that long. Like I could see like a shooting like that lasting about like a couple of minutes like that, but an hour. Like what was he trying? I just don't get I mean, the only way it would take an hour is if he was hunting every classroom and stuff like that. But there was only one classroom that he hunted for. So what was he doing for a whole hour? I guess we'll never know.
Who really knows? How long did the Columbine shooting happen? How long did Sandy Hook happen? I did have a set of notes with me, but obviously I didn't have all the notes that I wanted with me. Looks like the Columbine thing happened for about an hour. But the difference is the Columbine that was basically from the moment they started the shooting outside the school to the moment where they shot themselves inside the school. So they weren't spending an hour inside one classroom. They spent an hour in and out of the school, went into the cafeteria, the library, hallways. So that's a little bit different. Did you look up Sandy Hook, or do you want me to?
You do it. Just sorry. I thought you had them both up on your tabs there. Sorry.
Oh, I don't. I'm just looking it up. So the Sandy Hook shooting took 5 minutes. This guy had 5 minutes, and he managed to kill 20 people. In 5 fucking minutes?
Wow, talk about fast.
Well, so as I'm reading this, I'm reading about the Sandy Hook shooting. It says the police heard the final shot at 9:40 a.m. And then I'm reading, it says shortly after 9:35 a.m., Lanza shot his way through the glass panel next to the front entrance of the school. So he killed all those people in 5 minutes. So yes, 5 minutes is way too long for anybody to be in there without a response time. 5 minutes is bad, but a fucking hour that this coward had inside this one classroom. That is unbelievable.
Talk about unbelievable, yeah.
So, Tony, you said you had a list of things. You had a list of schools that you just wanted to give me a partial list of. So you mind wanting to go over that list and just kind of mention some other schools?
Might as well. I gotta find it here, because it's a long list here. I gotta...
Well, you don't have to do the whole list.
No. Yeah, I know that. Because, like...
But just list some of the main ones that you know, and then I'm going to basically tell you the one thing that is in common with every single one of those schools. So go ahead and give me that. Go ahead and just read off your list right now, Tony.
Well, there's Thurston High School, Columbine High School, Heritage High School, Deming Middle School, Fort Gibson Middle School, Buell Elementary School, Lakewood Middle School, University of Arkansas, Juniper High School.
So that's at the very top of it, and then what's at the very bottom of that list? I'm assuming it's all in order.
Yeah, this is the order of it there. And I'll read you. Let's see. There's Bel Air High School, North Crowley High School, McAuliffe Elementary School, South Oak Cliff High School, Texas A&M University Commerce, Sonora High School, Western Illinois University, Oxford High School, and Robb Elementary School.
So he's basically just given just a partial amount of names in this list. Like, were you able to count how many schools are on that list you were given?
No, I did not.
I remember you showing it to me, and I scrolled down like, holy shit, that is a long list, all right? However, there is one thing that all of those schools have in common, whether or not they were elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, colleges. Tony, what do you think is the one thing that all those schools have in common?
The one thing is that it all happened in gun-free zones.
Boom. The school shootings are gun-free zones. Do you know what the percentage of all mass shootings, where do they occur in?
94% of gun-free?
94% occur in gun-free zones. That includes all of the Texas schools. Like, I noticed you said Texas A&M in one of them. Like, they're designated gun-free zones. Why do you think cowards like Salvador Ramos or Adam Lanza go in here and attack?
Because it's gun-free.
They know they have the least likely chance of being shot back at. Same reason why people might go into churches, because they think, oh, these are pacifists, these are Christian people, they don't have guns, they're not going to shoot back at us. They go into these zones knowing that there is a very little chance of them being shot back at.
And they don't have to, and they feel immortal in these gun-free zones, because they know no one's gonna fire back at them or so.
And as soon as they know, and a lot of them, as soon as they know that, oh, the response is here, a lot of them commit suicide or engage in shooting with the police. I mean, basically, I think a lot of these people are thinking this is suicide by school shooting, but before they commit suicide, just what the hell just triggers this in making them think, I'm going to shoot up a school, I'm going to shoot up a supermarket, I'm going to shoot up a movie theater. Do you think there's ways for us to try to identify this type of behavior and prevent it before it even happens?
There's many ways you can prevent it and stuff, but just that people are mainly talking about the one thing is armed teachers and stuff like that, and no more school shootings and that. But there's gotta be something better than that, though, Anthony. That's the thing.
You're thinking better than armed teachers. So what do you think would be better than the teachers being trained on how to use firearms and having the option to be armed if they so choose? What do you think would be better than that?
The principal being armed?
Okay, great. Principal can be armed. Tony, have you ever had to visit an elementary school recently? I mean, obviously you went to an elementary school.
Right.
But as an adult, all right, if you ever need to go into an elementary school, what is usually the first thing that you need to go into?
You need to go to the office, the principal's office.
The administration offices, right. And there's usually like 1 or 2 rooms in the administration office that you have to go into and show them your ID, show them you are who you are, state your purpose of why you're visiting before you even get a chance to go into these classrooms. So, do you think the secretaries could be armed?
Yes. I think every faculty member of a school should be armed, I believe, because that way this stuff won't keep continuing and stuff. I mean, if it happens,
not that it won't. You're right, and again, you're always going to be this. You'll hear the people that say, "Oh no, that's not going to prevent mass shooting." There's there's going to still be wackos in there.
Of course.
Okay, but what solutions have worked? All right, Tony, do you think that there are background checks for people that want to buy a gun?
I don't think there have been any background checks. There should be background checks.
There already are background checks. My friend who was a gun nut has had to do background checks. You usually have to wait a certain amount of period before you can legally purchase a firearm. So I don't know, and this is something you can do yourself, Tony. You don't necessarily have to buy the gun, but you can say, hey, I'd like to purchase something, or I'd like to purchase a firearm at a licensed dealer or a licensed gun store or whatever. And the first thing they'll usually do is give you that paperwork that you have to fill out, so they submit through that background check. So where have you heard, Tony, that there are no background checks?
I heard from somewhere. I just it's
Who do you think usually tells you that there's no background checks?
Who usually does? Who?
People that don't know what the fuck they're talking about. That's why. There is a lot of gun laws that we have here in California, but shootings still happen in California.
They're gonna keep happening. They're gonna keep happening no matter what, Anthony. No matter that's the thing. You can try and prevent it all you want, but it's not. But the thing is, it's not going to change anything at all. It's still gonna happen. It's still gonna be there. And I mean, people can say, "Oh, ban guns together" and stuff like that. You can't ban guns and stuff like that, because like if you ban guns, what are like the cops gonna use and stuff like that?
Why do you think people call the cops when they themselves are not armed and they know that there is a lethal threat from somebody with a gun? Who do you think they fucking call?
The police.
Cops. Because why?
But the cops are.
Why do you think they call them?
Because they're armed.
The cops are armed. The cops are the people with the guns. So this whole idea of not having people armed, call the cops because they're the ones with the gun. Okay, but how long did it take for responders? It takes minutes for the earliest responder. The other day, I had a panic attack, unrelated or whatever, but I essentially knew I was impaired and I had to call 911. And it was still a few minutes before I could get any help from the paramedics before they could take me to the hospital. So there is minutes of valuable time of responders and help not getting there in time for these murders to be prevented. Did you know, Tony, that the Columbine shooting happened during a assault weapon ban?
No, I did not.
It was. There was a big assault weapon ban that happened in 1994. You'll get the people that say, oh, no, when we did the assault ban, it made the gun crime go down. No, it didn't. It actually went up. And then when they take the ban off, and the gun crime goes back down, and then they reinstate the ban, and the gun crime keeps going back up. States with high magazine bans include New York, California, Washington, D.C., New Jersey, Colorado. Well, recently we had a shooting in Boulder, Colorado. Wait, they're not supposed to have high magazines. You had a church shooting in California. You had the Brooklyn subway terrorists. Well, wait a minute, they're not supposed to have all this stuff. They do anyway. So what amount of legislation and gun control, or common sense gun control, are we talking about here?
Good question. What is it indeed?
So...
but the sad thing is, though, Anthony,
I'm going to let you talk.
Even if they do make all these changes, nothing is gonna change or take place. Because, like, no matter how hard you try to beg or vote for like a new law to come out and start that, I don't think anything's gonna change. Nothing's gonna change.
Well, this is the one thing they have not done. They haven't really armed teachers. They've made it illegal for teachers to be carrying guns. Usually the only security that you have at schools is people preventing kids from leaving school, not protecting from cowards that try to enter the school. So that obviously needs to change. Like, there are solutions that people just don't want to do, or they don't think they'll work. I mean, did you see what Beto O'Rourke tried to do? Did you ever hear anything about that?
No, what is it?
Oh, you got to look this up. This guy tried to show up at the Uvalde mayor and try to make a scene, and everybody was like, "Go away, jackass! Get out of here."
That sure failed.
No, but this is the guy who said, "Hell yeah, I'll take away your AK-47s." Said that in front of a cheering audience, but then when he realized that wasn't going to get him elected, then he realized, "Oh no, we need to protect the Second Amendment." Like, this guy's a snake.
Sounds like it too.
And they say that the most mass shootings per capita, that we're the country with the most. No, we're 11th. Norway and Serbia have more mass shootings than we do.
Really? Norway?
Yes.
Wow.
World Population Review says that. So they're always going to say that, oh, well, common sense gun control would have prevented these. Well, the thing is, this guy who shot up the school, he bought his gun legally. He bought his rifles legally, at least.
Right. Like, a lot of, I'm half of these shooters who shot up schools, probably half of them have gotten their weapons legally.
Have you ever heard of, you can look this up, like, oh, women wish they had the same rights as guns. Have you heard anything like that?
No.
Okay, so, Tony, let's just remember, if women were given the same rights as guns, first they would have to wait 72 hours before meeting someone while awaiting a background check. If women had the same rights as guns, they're banned from entering schools, college campuses, and post offices. They're also banned from entering airports. They'll be banned from polling places. They have to pay a fee to the state before being carried. They are legally supposed to be locked up at all times when they're not in use. So, guns do not have these rights that people think they do. And this is the legal ways of owning a gun. That doesn't stop people from lying about how many guns they own, or how many guns they have in their safe, how many guns they've modified. Like, there is just no way you can legally control the guns, not in this country. So you agree that, well, you agree that there should be armed specialists. There should be armed teachers, all right? And I'm even fine with these specialists engaging only with lethal threats to the safety of the people. So yeah. If we have an armed specialist at a Walmart and somebody's shoplifting, okay, that the shoplifter is going to be subject to the other people that can do it in a non-lethal way. But as soon as something lethal happens, this guy pulls out a knife, bam, 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 bam. So I'm okay with having people that are specifically there to only engage in lethal threats. But you got to imagine, all right, what do you think would be a better situation, Tony? A shooter walking into a church or a school or any other designated gun-free zone, having plenty of time with zero resistance as they're opening fire while people wait for police response, and then something might happen to the coward. Or a shooter walking into a place with his head on a swivel because he doesn't know how long it is until his head gets blown off by somebody in the church or the school who was armed and capable of firing back, not walking around willy-nilly for an hour. What do you think is the better scenario, Tony?
The second one, because the shooter has a better chance of not going through this plan in a more armed place like Walmart. So like that, but at school, yeah, like it's gonna be way worse because it's gun free and stuff like that and everything, and it gives the shooter the right of hand stuff.
Sure. So I do not think overall that people are trying to take away all of our Second Amendment rights. But if you truly are voting against the Second Amendment, if you truly are voting to take more people's guns away, or you're truly voting to basically legally reduce the amount of guns people are allowed to have, Tony, any last remaining thoughts as we close this out?
All I can say is that something has to be done, or else these shootings are going to get worse and worse, and nothing is going to change. Action people have to step up and take action, because it isn't fair that innocent children deserve to die like this. They don't deserve to die. It's not fair at all. I mean, these children were just mind their own business in schools, just going out their daily day, and this asshole just took their lives away, and the two teachers as well.
Right. So there's always going to be this, you're always going to get this claim that, oh, we somehow don't have the money or resources to provide these services, especially from the government. All right, Tony,
Right.
are you in favor of the war in Ukraine?
I don't like war at all. The war was just
Neither am I. Neither am I. So, do you like the fact that $40 billion of our taxpayer money was sent to Ukraine for aid? Are you in favor of that at all?
I don't mind that they help people, but that's our money.
It's our money, and you know why they sent that money to Ukraine? They sent that money to protect Ukrainians with guns. The Ukraine's basically saying, help, bad guys with guns. Oh, here's $40 billion. But if our schools are saying, help, bad guys with guns, no, you're supposed to be gun-free. That guy's legally not supposed to have the gun there. You know he's breaking the law. Fucking bullshit. So, $40 billion. All right, Tony, do you know how many public schools there are in the USA?
Like 40 billion?
There's not 40 billion public schools in the USA.
Oh,
$40 billion. How many public schools are there in the USA?
How many? Because I know there's a lot of them.
The exact number right now is basically 99,000. So let's say we round that up to 100,000 schools, including private schools for that matter. That's $400,000 that could have been sent to each school in the United States that could have been used to hire more security or more security protection for each school. What is that? 4 people per school if it's $100,000 each? Or 8 people per school if you're paying them $50,000 a year?
I think so,
That's money that could have been sent for our schools, but instead we're sending it to the fucking Ukraine. For a war that nobody in this country wants us to be engaged with at all. You know what? You can hate Putin all you want, but this is a conflict between Putin and Ukraine. This has nothing to do with us. Especially with inflation happening, with all the crap that's happening with food prices and fuel costs going up. Why are we sending all this money there when we could have been using this money to protect our kids? Why are kids not being protected the same way that our congressmen and our movie stars and sports stars are being protected?
That's the $1 million question we don't have the answer to.
It's nothing. I don't have an answer here. We've used this little special podcast to express our thoughts and opinions on what's going on. And if you are listening to us, please leave a comment, and we would love, and I'm always open to engage in the discussion with you.
Also, feel free to make a response too.
Sure, please do. Even if mass shootings in schools are technically rare, they shouldn't be happening as much as they do, or they shouldn't be happening as much as the media seems to be reporting them.
It seems like every weekend you hear something about a new shooting or something like that. It seems like every weekend or something there's like a shooting going on somewhere and stuff. You hear about someone dying. It's getting more and more out of hand. But before you know it, it makes you worry because this stuff can happen anywhere. It doesn't just happen. It's not happening in one area or one neighborhood. So this stuff can happen anywhere.
It can happen anywhere. Whether you're a state like Texas, who is basically the least strict about gun laws, or California, who's one of the most strict places about gun laws, you still have shootings happening everywhere. And Tony, last remarks before we close this?
I pretty much said everything I had to say. It's the fact that this has to stop. And to all those children and teachers who lost their lives that day, to the families, you are in our thoughts and prayers, and we pray that you get through these tragedies, because it wasn't fair that your son or daughter was taken from you that quickly.
No, it was not fair. Not fair that these teachers got their lives ended. Not fair that these students never got to experience the joys of what was to come with adolescence and everything else when they achieve adulthood. And Salvador Ramos, may your ass get fucked in hell. I'm Desert Coyote 22. Thanks for listening to episode 25 of Burgers and Fries with a Shake.